This episode is proudly supported by Powerhouse Parramatta.
Powerhouse Parramatta will open in 2025. The new museum will be the largest in New South Wales and is determined to offer the very best in hospitality. Perhaps your business can be part of defining a food and beverage offering which is expected to cater to 2 million visitors a year. This incredible opportunity for operators includes retail food and beverage, in-house residential catering, events and other hospitality ventures, encapsulating the diversity of cuisines and cultures that make Western Sydney so exciting. Interested to learn more? Powerhouse invites food and beverage operators to a briefing on Tuesday, 8th of August. For more information and to register for this exclusive briefing, go to powerhouse.com.au.
It's like a little cave of wonders that you never know what you're going to get, and every little nook and every little room is different and has its own character. Very, very much like India.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Food can deliver the fondest of memories. Dishes, feasts, recipes handed through the generations, reenacted at our own dining table. Indian cuisine has really been a driving force down under of late, as clever chefs gain inspiration from their heritage and deliver new and exciting restaurants. Ahana Dutt is the head chef of Raja in Sydney. Ahana, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. It's great to get you on the show. You've got a very exciting new restaurant there in Sydney at Raja. How are things going?
It's early days, but I think pretty good. We started off a bit slower, but it has been busy.
Tell us a little bit about the restaurant.
So it is very much a contemporary Indian restaurant. We call ourselves unapologetically Indian. It was one of those things that Nick, Huck, and myself, we were very clear on from the very beginning. The flavors are very, very traditional, but the dishes might not be how you would expect the dishes to present.
How did it all come about?
So I think almost a year ago, I met Nick and Huck through a mutual friend, and then we went out for a cup of coffee and dinner, and we mainly talked about our ethos about food and then the kind of restaurant we wanted to open and also work in, to be honest, and what our philosophy was, and we were pretty much on the same page. So it was a very easy decision, for me at least, to go forward with this.
Well, I want to explore your food and what you're doing there in detail soon, but take us back to when you were young. Where did you grow up and what sort of role did food play for you?
So I'm from Calcutta, so in East India. I was there most of my life till college when I moved to Mumbai for a couple of years. I think food has always played a very, very important role, as with a lot of families. My mom is an amazing, amazing cook. My grandmother was a really good cook. So I grew up eating really good food, and I think that creates really strong memories when you grow up eating really delicious food. And I spent a lot of time in the kitchen helping my mom cook and, learning. And I very much believe that's where I got it from. It is funny because now it's the other way. I will cook and my mom will learn things from me. So I think that's quite cute. That's how it started, I guess.
Are there any sort of dishes or feasts that you can share with us from your youth that you remember fondly?
So many. I think one of two things that really I always talk about, and the thing is, one of the dishes my mom doesn't even remember, and there are these just savory shortbread biscuits, but I distinctly remember the smell. It's just butter and salt, but I very much remember that. And then the other one is she used to do this saffron yogurt, just normal yogurt set at home, but she would put heaps of saffron on top and it was sweet. And one of the dishes at Raja has a version of that, I guess. And then other than that, so many market visits, because that is such a big part of Indian culture as well, I guess. We don't really have, now there are quite a few grocery stores, but when I was growing up, that wasn't really a thing. So the Sunday market was a big deal. You know, you go in and it's busy and it's chaotic, but it is so thrilling because you have to, haggle for the prices, and then who gets the extra fish head or it's genuinely an experience. And whenever and anytime my friends go or whoever visits India, I always tell them to go to the markets. It's a lot, but I think it's worth it.
The food of India is so different depending where you are. But tell us a little bit about the food of Kolkata.
So I don't think a lot of people know about Bengali food. It is, I think, quite different. It is very mustard forward. So mustard, fish, rice, and sweets are like the four pillars of Bengali food, I think, to the point where people make fun of us for how much we love fish. And all the flavors are complex, but not in the way you would know it. It's not heaps of red chili forward, but more green chili based. Not to say that there aren't dishes like that, but mostly that way. And the other interesting thing that, like you said, India is a very big country and it changes everywhere, but to my knowledge there aren't very many other Indian cultures where the meal is eaten as a course. So you have, like how you have a French classical menu, a Bengali meal would have different courses and a way that you eat things.
You mentioned that you spent a bit of time in Bombay, Mumbai as well. Is the food there quite different to Kolkata?
So different. So they're on the opposite coasts basically, and in Calcutta, and both the cities are very in love with their seafood. In East India, it's mostly freshwater fish, and then in Bombay, it's almost only saltwater fish. You very rarely get freshwater fish that's local, and then it's more red chili, coconut, tamarind, that kind of flavor profiles, I guess. And even so, there's a very large Chinese population in India, and Indian Chinese is definitely a sub cuisine that is very, very loved. But even that between the two cities is so different.
Tell us about the move to Australia. What triggered that?
Well, I was doing hotel management in Bombay, and then so hospitality in India is very, very big, and I think it has changed in the last 10 years that I've been in Australia. But when I was studying, working there, it wasn't the easiest industry to be in, not just as a chef, but as a female chef. So it kind of made sense to move elsewhere to really progress in this career, and Australia seemed kind of like the best option at that point anyway. Hospitality is booming here, and the culture is really good here, I think, and it just felt like the natural next step.
Where did you land in Australia, and what was it like for you? What did you think of the culinary landscape when you arrived?
I mean, I've been in Sydney, so I've been in Australia for about 10 years now, and I've been in Sydney pretty much the whole time actually, and I think it was the culture that really was different for me. It's there's so much appreciation for everyone's work and everyone's role in a kitchen, and there are definitely kitchens that it's not that amazing, but I have been lucky enough to work in kitchens where it's always been it's a good environment, and none of the toxic aspects that can be there in this industry.
Tell us about the last decade in Australia. What's been the sort of really key venues and people that you've worked with that's helped you as you built your career?
So when I first started working here, I was working at Arya Catering, So that was a massive I don't know, work experience wise, it was pretty big, I guess. Not just doing, working at an ARIA venue, but also the numbers that we were doing at that point, and especially during New Year's Eve. And then after that, I worked at the Gazebo Wine Garden for a little bit while I was doing my internship. And then I was at Fire for 6.5 years. So I would say that played the most important role in, who I am today.
Take us into the kitchen of Firedor. It's something a little bit different and special in the hospitality sector. Well, do you have any stories of what it was like and the challenges of cooking over fire?
I think I took to it pretty well. I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, even to be honest, so even after I left last year, when I tell people that, I was there for 6.5 years and, I just felt like it was time to move on. And obviously this opportunity came along and they were like, oh yeah, you must have been really tired of the fire and, the hard work that goes with it. I was like, absolutely not. Like if it is a lot of hard work, but it is so thrilling and it changes every time, and I'm very, very passionate about that as well. So I really, really enjoyed my time there. I mean, there were hard days, obviously, but the fire was never what was causing the days to be hard, I guess.
We've had Lennox Hasty on the podcast before. Do you have any stories of what he's like to work with?
Complicated, but I would say in the best way. I mean, I would say we're friends. We're going out for dinner tonight. So I think complicated is the best way to describe him. And I've said this to him. I have not met a lot of people who, I mean, he's a big name. Everyone knows who he is, but he has this hunger for knowledge that is so admirable. Like constantly wanting to learn and improve and do his best. His execution isn't always perfect, but I am so inspired by that. So,
what did you take from your time at Fidor?
The most important thing that I think I've taken, and I didn't even realize that I had taken it till I started doing Raja because it was so normal for me, is appreciation for really good produce and suppliers. And I've very much incorporated that at Raja as well. When you do something and it becomes your normal, it is different when it is not everyone else's normal. But I've had a great time introducing people to all the different suppliers and the farms and the producers, and people get surprised when I know the name of the diver who's getting our scallops or the guy who's growing our citrus. Like, what do you mean? But that is, very normal for me.
What's it been like stepping into a head chef role and creating your own menu for the first time?
So I think the other really good thing at Firedor is that you get a lot of creative freedom. Lennox does not... he runs a tight ship, but he is his palms are open when he teaches you, and he wants you to showcase your heritage and 100%. He very, very much pushes you to be creative. To be honest, I think it was my third week at Firedor and he was like, oh, put a dessert on, because I was doing pastry and I made this really naff rhubarb dessert, I think, and it didn't go on the menu and it was totally fine. It was just a learning experience. However, right before I left, I did put a rhubarb dessert on and it did go on the menu. So I don't know, I thought it was kind of nice. But so I've had experience with, making my own dishes, and I would like to think of myself as quite creative. So I've had a grand time planning the menu and doing all the testing. And to be honest, we didn't have a kitchen for a very, very long time just because of council and certification and stuff. So I did almost 85% of the recipe testing and stuff at home. And yeah, it was definitely an experience. I nearly set my kitchen on fire once, but the alarms did not go off and all was well.
What's it been like, sort of, being a head chef is not only the creative side of things, but you've got to nurture the staff and create an atmosphere in the kitchen. What's that experience been like for you?
I'm very passionate about inculcating good values in people, and even in life, I'm quite a patient person, so I have all the time in the day to help someone who wants to learn and wants to do the right thing, even if they don't necessarily have, all the tools to do it at this point. And nothing makes me happier than when you give them the right tools and they just flourish. And that is also one thing that Nick and Kirk are so great at. I have never seen people who have such great work ethic and such great culture in how they treat people and how they run a business, and they're so genuine about it. It's just normal to them. It helps when you work with people who are like that.
Let's talk about your food. You briefly touched on your approach at the top of the show, but can you take us through 2 to 3 dishes in detail and sort of that exemplifies your cooking?
Yeah, so I would say one of my favorite snacks on the menu currently is it's a raw albacore snack, but it's on quote unquote toast. So in Western India, along the coast, you have this snack called patrado. So you get taro leaves, and they are layered with chickpea flours, like a batter made of chickpea flour, tamarind, chili powder, water, and such. Then they're rolled into a Swiss roll. The whole thing gets steamed. It gets cut into pinwheels and then fried. So it's delicious, and it's a fun shape and everything as well. So we're doing that here, but with Swiss chard, and then it's just a little bit of raw albacore on top with we make a whole lemon jam and gunpowder, which is a South Indian spice mix. So gunpowder is, I guess, it's definitely an Indian term, but that's the English term. I always call it mulga puri. It's also known as pitti chutney. It's just a chutney made out of toasted lentils, curry leaves, chili, and asafoetida. So it's punchy, but it is delicious. It goes on anything. And normally you would just put heaps of ghee on top to make it like a paste almost, and then eat it with a dosa or upma, idli, whatever. I love it on like eggs or even just plain rice. And then, so instead of ghee, we are using lemon myrtle oil. Another dish that I really, really like is I put it on as our vegan main course, but people love it as a little side number. It's hispy cabbage, and between the layers of the cabbage, we're stuffing it with red lentils that we've mixed with raisins, coriander, eschalots. The whole thing gets pan fried, and then at the bottom there's a macadamia nut salan. So a salan, if I'm not wrong, is a Hyderabadi curry, I guess. I hate using that term, but I've had to use it a lot to explain to people what it is. It's like super creamy and delicious and just gently spiced, but I when you put on a dish on and you love it, but you don't know if people would love it, but people have loved that dish. And then the third one would be the chanar jalebi, which is one of our desserts. I went home earlier this year, and I was just making things at home, and I made this. So chana is milk curds, essentially, when you split milk, kind of like making ricotta, except it's milk, there's no cream in it. And then you knead it out, make a dough, fried, soaked in sugar syrup. Our version is made with ricotta, and then it's piped out into a little spiral, fried, still the sugar syrup, but with pistachio, sabayon, and salt, which is very important.
What's it been like for you, sort of trying to strike a balance between traditional dishes and bringing them into a modern context? Does it have its challenges?
Most definitely. I think I'm lucky in the sense that I have never had to explain myself to Nick or Kirk, which isn't always the case, I think. Anything I've done, they've been very open. And I mean, there's always feedback, but it's always given in a very positive way. And it's easier to change and grow when it's given in that sense, I guess. And I think it's been harder to explain to a lot of our customers, because you have Indian customers who come in expecting a certain type of Indian food and then they don't get it. But when they do eat it, they're like, oh my God, it tastes exactly like that. But because it doesn't look like it, there might be a disconnect. All you have to do is try it, give it a shot. And and then I've had people who've been like, oh my God, this reminds me of Durga Puja, or this reminds me of my mom's dish. And those things keep you going.
I love the phrase unapologetically Indian. How do you capture that in the dining room? What have you done to create that amazing atmosphere that you have?
So it's the word I think Nick and Kirk use are curated chaos, and it is definitely that. It is 100% a maximalist space. But the thing is, when you put a lot of big, bold things together, it makes the space more seamless as opposed to highlighting the bits that are big and bold. I mean, we have two tiger chairs. We have two almost entire wall-sized flamingo murals. There's heaps. We have a little private dining room, which is gonna have tented ceilings. Everything. There's every aspect. There's heaps of prints everywhere. There's fans outside that even during winter keep going. We have heaps of lighting that goes behind the furniture. And Rosie Rainbow, who's one of Nick and Kirk's friends from 15 years ago, I believe, she's designed the space all from the US. She doesn't even live here, and has done such a great job. You walk in, and because you walk past it sometimes, because the door is so unassuming, and then you walk in, and my friend said it really well. She was like, it's like a little cave of wonders that you never know what you're gonna get, and every little nook and every little room is different and has its own character. Very, very much like India. Every kilometer you go, it's different. So
how has this foray into your heritage made you feel? Has it had an impact on you?
Most definitely. I mean, I think I've said this to a lot of people now. I feel such a sense of pride in being able to do this, and I take this job very, very seriously. And the other thing that goes with it is that I'm learning as well. It's not we never wanted to do this as a way of, oh, this is how Indian food should be, or it's just fun. This is the kind of food I've grown up with. This is the kind of food that Nick and Kirk experienced when they went to India, and we just want people to have a good time. But it is definitely been a learning for me, because you get to learn so much about different cultures and how they eat and what they eat, and there's so much more. It's the first menu, and I was telling Ollie, who's my sous chef and wonderful, how this is, even though it's a lot, and it is a lot, I know, because I had to give a 5.5 hour front of house training. But this, I think, is the most basic I could have gone with, with all the things that are available in India.
Well, it's incredible what you're doing there at Raja. What do you love about what you do?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I don't think anyone's asked me that. I think, just from like an everyday point of view, I just really love cooking. I don't know if that's very generic, but I truly, really enjoy to cook. I still cook at home. And, every time, whenever I'm cooking a cabbage, if it's like the perfect caramelization and then the stem is caramelized, which means it's going to be delicious, it always makes me happy. And I think that's why I do this. It would be I know a lot of people, not everyone is lucky enough to do a job that they love as much as I do, but I am. I really love to cook.
Well, it's amazing to hear what you're creating there at Raja, and an absolute honour to get you on Deep in the Weeds today to hear a bit of your story. I look forward to hearing much more of it, so please keep in touch and we'll catch up again soon.
Most definitely.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. And be well.